Breaking news here on the Cowboys Report. A pair of players getting claimed off of waivers by the Dallas Cowboys. Maybe not the ones you had your eyes on, though. Trikweze Bridges, a draft pick by the Chargers this year, claimed he's a corner, along with corner Reddy Steward, who overlapped with Matt Eberflus most recently with the Minnesota Vikings. We will break down those two moves and briefly mention the loss the Cowboys had on the waiver wire. Oh, look, turns out Trayshawn Holden doesn't get claimed. Go figure. Tyrus Wheat, however, does get claimed, which was a more realistic possibility because he's spent time in the NFL. He's played in actual games. Lions adding him as defensive end depth, so he will not be a member of the Cowboys practice squad to begin the year. He is off to Detroit. This is exactly why you guys subscribe. News happens, and we have you covered on two players that, for being honest, maybe not many people know, and I wouldn't expect many people to know, frankly. We will have the practice squad updates, any additional roster moves later this afternoon as well. So make sure you guys are subscribed, youtube.com/@CowboysTV. Let's go to Trikweze Bridges. That is how you pronounce it, Trikweze Bridges. The Florida product, Gator Greats. This is right up Will McClay's alley. He's got 33-plus-inch arms. The fact that the Cowboys chose to draft him, or chose to claim him, given where he was drafted and how I don't really think he had that great of a showing in the preseason, which we'll get into later on, makes me think this was someone that they wanted to have added to their practice or to their undrafted free agency class. He was the second to last pick in the draft this year. So wondering if this is some pre-draft eval guy that they liked. And then Reddy Steward, I'm actually more intrigued by. I want to give our Vikings host a shout out here, Patrick Seatman. He immediately messaged me with this note on Reddy Steward. He says, dog in all caps, played good during week through the preseason, small cornerback, but physical as F. So this is a potential, I think, he did some inside-outside stuff, but off type for the Cowboys, did overlap with Matt Eberflus in Chicago. The scouting report from Patrick, our Vikings guy, makes me feel a bit better about that claiming of the two. Not that I'm dinging anybody else. So this is where things sit then in the cornerback room. Oh, it's busy again, isn't it? Kalen Carson, Trayvon Diggs currently banged up. Wouldn't be shocked if Carson went to IR as one of the roster moves. Savone Revel is on the NFI list. Josh Butler is on the PUP list. So healthy corners right now are Deron Bland, Kyer Elam, Andrew Booth, Zion Childress, Reddy Steward, and Trikweze Bridges. So an interesting group of maybe not the most household names. So I want honest answers here. The answer is no, it's fine. It just means you're not a Florida fan, you're not a Troy fan or whatever, or maybe even Oregon fan briefly with Bridges. Have you heard of either player before? Bridges wasn't Dane Brugger's beast. He was the first corner I did not scout this year, which I guess I really wish I had now. Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. So Bridges, the official measurements were 6'2" and 5'8", 196. Something tells me he'll be listed at 6'3" when it's all said and done. There is a lot to like about the size-speed profile here in Bridges. Again, he's just a shade under 6'3". He's got 33-plus-inch arms. That's 33.25, which is right up Will McClay's alley. Not the greatest shuttle or three-cone. Most of the tall guys aren't in that area. But he did run a 4.45 40-yard dash. So height, weight, speed player. I would wonder if Stewart is a bit closer to being able to contribute right now. But Bridges does have the profile the Cowboys love in their corners. I don't think he played that great in the 2025 preseason, though. And then, again, these are all per PFF, so asterisk them as you want. But, there were teams like their guys, too. So when they get cut, that does often mean that they didn't love what they saw in the preseason. Predominantly outside corner. In fact, did not line up at all in the slot, by the way. Did play 4 games. Was probably a bit better in the Chargers game, but he played a ton in the preseason. I do want to make note, you might see him listed somewhere as a safety. He is not a safety. He is a corner. He played all corner for the Chargers in the preseason. I don't see, especially at like 200-ish pounds, a flip coming there into safety. That's too light for a safety. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. The regular season is almost here. College football is underway. So don't miss any of the action this season on Prize Picks. It's simple to play. You pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. You get those picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. Still can get in on the max discount. Dak Prescott more than a half passing yard. It's a no-brainer. Put in every single one of your Prize Picks lineups. I'm also going to pair with Xavier Worthy, more than 3.5 yards on the ground, and Ashton Genty, more than a half touchdown. So go download the PrizePicks app today over at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS over at prizepicks.com/CLNS to get that $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. We appreciate PrizePicks sponsoring us here on the Cowboys Report. Reddy Steward, who was a Troy product, played more for the Bears in the preseason in 2023. Only had, I think it was like 46 snaps, under 50 snaps this year for the Minnesota Vikings. Lining up inside-outside, so there is some flexibility there. Was more slot to begin the preseason than more outside corner down the stretch in that third and final preseason game that our guy Patrick was so hyped about there. We'll get to his stats in a little bit. His career, he was an undrafted free agent out of Troy in the 2024 class. The Bears picked him up as a UDFA. He spent the year on the practice squad, so there is that built-in familiarity there with Matt Eberflus already. They overlapped in Chicago. And then it was on the 90-man roster this spring, preseason, etc. for the Cowboys. Stewart was targeted 3 times in the preseason. He actually did not allow a singular catch. He held up very well in coverage, had a pass breakup in that final game, was pretty physical as a tackler as well. So I think, talking to our guy Patrick Seaman, I did like what I saw out of Reddy Steward there. So what's next? The Cowboys will have to create a pair of roster spots to make room for these corners. Now, there's an easy way to do this and a hard way to do it, which is certainly worth mentioning, which we'll get into here. One of the ways is to just cut players, and that could potentially be an option for the Cowboys to make a release in some capacity and start dumping players in the end. So will they cut anyone? 1 for yes, 0 for no. You added 2 corners. You might. We'll discuss that a little bit more in depth here, but let me know in the comments. 1 for yes, 0 for no. All right, there's the easy way of just putting 2 guys on IR. Now, this would make it questionable for what the plan is for Hakeem Adeniji and CJ Goodwin, but you could simply put Phil Maffa on IR and Kalen Carson on IR. That would make them miss the first 4 weeks of the season. You were going to do that already, but there had been reporting that you were going to add CJ Goodwin and Hakeem Adeniji back to the 53-man roster. Maybe you put them on the practice squad to start. That is an option as well. So we'll see what the Cowboys do here in terms of what other roster moves are to come. We will have the video on that. I know there is some frustration over not claiming a defensive tackle. I get it. I'm not that surprised by it. I know everyone wanted the Ravens guy, CJ Okoye, because my guy, Skywalker, still mentioned him. The NFL was never as high on him, though. Like, that's why he's been cut multiple times and hasn't been claimed. So I still would have liked, I'm a little surprised Zach Pickens didn't get claimed. Maybe I don't think he got claimed, at least by the Cowboys. Maybe there's some room to add some outside players to the practice squad, but they did something in the waiver wire claim, and I guess that's a win in the end for Dallas.